Hey guys, welcome to a new video. In this one, we are going to be talking about the battle of the big guns, PLTY and MSTY. These are two of my favorite funds, and they are two of the most popular YieldMax ETFs, and for good reason. They've been performing really well recently. So I'm excited to go over this and just provide a little information that I've been looking at. But before we get into that, I have had a record month, so I just want to share this with you, not to brag, but to just kind of go over it and give any insights that I possibly can. And actually, my target for this year was to produce. My goal was a 20K month, right? And I sold my caravan, came into a bit more money, and of course, just shoved all of that into YieldMax. And so to try and increase my monthly distributions, and I've hit 31,000 for this month. That's a bit of a false narrative, if you like, because of course we had the bonus week. We had 5 weeks in May, not the usual 4 weeks. So every few months we get that fifth week kind of bonus. And this time it was Group C, which had a second week, which you can see here. And because Bitcoin has been doing a lot better, it's hit all-time highs recently. The Bitcoin and crypto related ETFs have been doing better in terms of distribution. So MSTY, $2.37, that's much better than the last few months. Coney, as you can see here, it was 65 cents the first week of this month, and then 73 cents this week, or the week just gone. So that, with my 4,800 shares, that produced a few $1,000s for me, which hit me over that 30K mark. And then also CBNY was banger week, $4.56, which was amazing, seeing my average price on that was $27. So I got in at the low when the tariff chaos was kicking off. AMDY pretty average, and LFGY so consistent. Love that. It's my favorite weekly fund by far. YieldMax been doing really well recently, so yeah, that's good. And then PLTY kind of consistent. But yeah, just wanted to share that. And because I've been reinvesting my distributions, living off a portion of that, which I need to, and then reinvesting as much as possible. So I've been doing a lot more buying. And because I think Bitcoin is going to go up from here to the end of the year, I've been focusing that mainly on MSTY with a bit of Coney. Coney's because Coney, obviously, the share price fell after on ex-dividend day, after the distribution amount came out. I've been buying that, so $7.76. It's at a great price, and I still think Coney will hit the $14-15 price by the end of this year, and that MSTY will hit that $40-45 amount. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos. I know that's quite a big target, but yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin, so that's what I'm doing. But let's get into it. PLTY versus MSTY. As I said, two of the most popular ETFs, and for very good reason. MSTY has been the king of YieldMax, it seems, for a long time. It's been pretty consistent, even with Bitcoin price going 30% down on what it was in November or December time. So as you can see, I've just outlined the distributions here for the last 6 months. The reason I've done the last 6 months is because PLTY only launched in October. And so it took a month or two for, I think it was end of October, so it took a month or two for it to get going. And so, yeah, so here it is. So MSTY, it was doing well in December because that's when it was kind of peak. It had a couple of $4 distribution months, I think, in November and December. And then it started going down because the price of Bitcoin was starting to fall here. But you can see if we compare them, PLTY, yeah, its actual dollar amount was higher, but in terms of distribution percentage, MSTY is higher because MSTY share price is around the $20-25 mark, and PLTY is in the mid-60s at the moment. So the dollar amount isn't really the important part. The more important part, in my personal opinion, is the distribution percentage, because that's what you've invested based on what you're getting back, your return, your distribution return, if you like. So MSTY was actually beating PLTY for the first those first 3 months, Dec, Jan, because there was 2 distributions in Jan. Dec, Jan again, February. So in those first 3 months, 129%, 103, it was always above 100%. And MSTY's kind of always border around that area anyway. and PLTY was just kind of getting used to things. It was starting to pick up. And then obviously Bitcoin went down, and then MSTY's distribution started to go down. And that's when PLTY started doing really well. Palantir was doing really well as a tech fund. And so PLTY's distributions, it's a very volatile fund. So it's able to get those higher incomes from its income strategy. And so for the last 3 months, actually, in terms of distribution percentages, PLTY has been doing better than MSTY, as you can see here. So 107% versus 96. April was not such a good month for anyone because of the tariff chaos. And then in May, both of them picked back up because obviously the market was shooting back up. We got a $7 distribution from PLTY, which I think is a record, absolutely banger of a distribution. But of course, we have to look at the percentage. And MSTY also did really well, 131%, but was pipped by PLTY. So you could say MSTY was the king, and then over the past few months, PLTY has been doing slightly better than MSTY. But what does that look like now? And that's what we really have to kind of focus on. That's what I'm looking at in terms of what's the price, what's the underlying stock doing. So Palantir for PLTY and MicroStrategy for MSTY. What are they doing? What are they looking like? What's the price action going to look like in the future to then determine which one do you want to get into now? Is one overvalued? Is one undervalued? And just I haven't done a load of research into this, just gone on to TradingView, taken the analysts' ratings and looked at it this way. Okay, so analyst ratings for Palantir are nowhere near as good as for MicroStrategy. So it's got a neutral buy rating. So it's got 3 analysts saying it's a strong buy, 3 saying it's a buy, 17 saying it's a hold, and 5 saying it's a strong sell. So what this looks like is that experts are saying that Palantir is currently overvalued a little bit. Their average price of what the stock should be at is 103, and Palantir is currently trading at $131. They've got a max of 150. So you can see that current price of $131 is near the max price. So what that says to me, and you can see here from the graph, like it reached an all-time high before the chaos kicked in, all that tariff chaos, and it's back to all-time highs. So the Palantir share price is pretty high at the moment. Whereas if you go to MicroStrategy, what the analysts are saying is very strong buy. Like 12 analysts saying strong buy, 4 are saying buy, and then only 1 saying strong sell. So what that says to me is, and then you can see it here. There was a high, we had that big dip. It's gone high again, but it's dipped. But Bitcoin really hasn't done that much in the last 5-6 months. And this, combined with my personal predictions for Bitcoin this year, emphasize the fact that MSTY is the better buy at the moment. And I am focusing most of my capital or my distributions that I want to reinvest back into MSTY and not PLTY, because I think PLTY is kind of at that max. It's I wouldn't say it's overvalued, but it's nearer that higher threshold, whereas MSTY is undervalued, I would say, at the moment. And that is largely to do with the predictions for Bitcoin. So I've talked about this before, but Bitcoin has an 85%, 80 to 90% correlation to global liquidity, M2 money supply. And M2 money supply is absolutely pumping right now. It's going crazy. So this is a Bitcoin lag. It's offset by about 90 days. And the price action just kind of mirrors, like I said, global liquidity with an 80 to 90% correlation. So what does that mean? Well, we are here because it's a pullback. This is actually now for global liquidity. But liquidity takes a while to get into the market. It takes weeks, months to get into the market, right? For get into people's hands so they can invest. And so this is what's happening. And then this should then spike Bitcoin price up to around the 150K mark and potentially 200, 250K by the end of this year. Now, you may think these are crazy prices, crazy figures that I'm pushing out there, but it's not me. This is what experts and people that I follow that are more in the know, like crypto experts that have been in the game for a lot longer than I have with maths and all sorts of stuff are saying the price will be at. So they're saying that 150K by the end of this year is basically programmed, and then it could be 200, 250. There's so much bullish activity around Bitcoin. There's obviously the US Bitcoin reserve that's getting to play. They want to buy 1 million Bitcoin within the next 5 years. There's other countries, other governments putting it onto their balance sheet, creating reserves. There's obviously the micro strategies and all these other companies and corporations that want to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, the same as the strategy for micro strategy. There's financial institutions just buying, like BlackRock, for instance, just buying so much Bitcoin because it inflows into ETFs for Bitcoin. There's so much bullish adoption of Bitcoin, and there's so much supply shortage. We know that Bitcoin is a fixed asset, has a fixed supply of 21 million coins, and really there's going to be a supply shock coming somewhere in the pretty near future. So that's why very bullish on Bitcoin and bullish on MSTY's year this year. I still think it's going to hit that $40, $45 mark. Now, if we look at total returns for the past year, I've just added some of the other big guns into this, Coney, NVIDIA, Tesla, but MSTY, PLTY, as you can see, this is a total return. So this is share price along with distributions return, so total return. And you can see this one, orange is PLTY and blue is MSTY. So they outperform the other three bigger players, if you like, in YieldMax, Coney, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So automatically, I want to focus on these two. These are my favorite two funds in YieldMax. And yeah, so let's just take out the other three. And then, because actually PLTY only launched in October, so it's not even fair to really give it a year, because look, it only launched here, October. So actually, if we go 6 months, then it's PLTY is the big winner. MSTY, not so much. But that's really, as I said, the Bitcoin price action. And it basically, we hit all-time highs in December, 108K Bitcoin. It went down to 76K, and it's now trading around 104K, 105K. And I expect this to rally much, much harder for this year. And that's why I personally am focusing on MSTY and not PLTY, for those reasons that I mentioned, is that the Palantir share price is pretty high right now, and MicroStrategies, MSTR, is not that high, and it's got a lot of bandwidth to move up. There's a higher possibility of a higher price action for it. So that's why my distributions that I receive from here will be going mainly into MSTY, and I still love PLTY. It's one of my favorite funds, and whenever there's a dip, I'll probably be buying into it, like I did the week before last. I bought another 74 shares of PLTY, but for the moment, I just want to concentrate on the Bitcoin-related funds until Bitcoin starts absolutely smashing it, and then I'm going to switch into PLTY, SMCY, NVIDIA, and possibly Tesla. A bit skeptical on Tesla still, the whole Elon thing, but I'm watching it and we'll see. But also, just to bear in mind that when Bitcoin really does rally and we hit maybe that 200, 250K mark and things are going nuts and everyone's talking about investing into Bitcoin, that's when we know we're in that kind of euphoria phase. And that's when I'm going to start shifting my MSTY, Coney allocations into the inverse funds, so into fiat, into winter, because there will be a crypto winter, there will be a bear market for Bitcoin and for crypto, and we need to hedge ourselves. Or for me, this isn't financial advice, when it gets to those high prices, when it gets to the euphoria, 150, 200, I'm going to start at least reinvesting my distributions into those inverse funds, so winter and fiat, and then even potentially selling some of my MSTY and some of my Coney in preparation for that bear market, for that Bitcoin bear market, or crypto winter, if you like. So that's what I'm doing. Which is better? Who knows? Both are amazing funds. I love PLTY, I love MSTY, but for now, because I'm bullish on Bitcoin for the rest of the year, I'm putting most of my money into MSTY. And then when that that Bitcoin kind of hits a high or around that euphoria stage, I'll be putting into the inverse funds, fiat and winter, and I'll be putting more into probably PLTY, SMCY, NVIDIA, anything that's good around that time. I don't know what that's going to be yet. Obviously, that's months away, but that's my game plan for now. Let me know what you think, if you agree or if you don't agree, and yeah, see you in the next one.